Howdy, Internet students. Mr. Hermanson again here. This is the extra practice for 6.1b retake. In this lesson, you had to learn how to use square roots. And just as a quick little mini lesson about numbers, we've learned recently that the power of 2 exponent means you're multiplying that number by itself. And the square root is the inverse of that. So if I take the square root of 25, and when I write it like this, that means the positive square root of 25. I don't put the plus sign there, but we know that's a positive number when there is no sign. So what this is telling me is what number multiplied by itself equals that 25. So these two functions are inverses of each other. Now every positive number has 2 square roots. So the positive square root of 25 is 5, and the negative square root of 25 is negative 5. Now, negative numbers don't have square roots because positive times a positive is a positive, and a negative times a negative is also a positive. So it would be impossible to do something like this, the square root of negative 25. All right, so we're going to do some problems here, and I think a lot of these you can do without your calculator, but don't be afraid to go ahead and use your calculator if you need to. But like this first one here, this number is really 49 hundredths. And one thing I notice about both of those, the numerator and the denominator there, is they're both perfect squares. So I can just take the square root of 49, which is 7, and the square root of 100, which is 10. And so the answer is 7/10, or 0.7. And you just saw how I did the fraction there. So on the second problem, you can do that problem just by doing the square root of both the numerator and the denominator. All right, so number 2, we're going to find the square roots. That means both the positive square root and the negative square root of each of these numbers. And you can use your calculator to help you if you need to. So basically, I want to do the square root of 121. Well, since I know 11 times 11 equals 121, the positive square root of 121 is 11, and the negative square root of 121 is negative 11, because negative 11 times negative 11 is also equal to 121. Okay? Now remember, not all numbers have square roots, and that's because negative numbers, there's no number times themselves that equal that number. So negative 25, you cannot do this. There is no positive square root. So no solution there. All right? Number 3, we just want to solve these, and I just want you to think about the inverse process. So if, just as a quick example, if we had the square root of 25, the positive square root of 25, you would say that's equal to 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. Well, if I want to work backwards from this 5 and get 25, the way I do that is I do 5 squared. Okay? So in this first problem here, to get x, I'm wondering square root of what number equals 324. To work backwards on that, to figure out what x is, I have to do 324 squared, which is going to be a pretty big number. 324 squared equals 104,976. Okay, so in the second problem, I have to figure out 2 times, that means 2 times the square root of x equals 10. So to get 10, this square root has to equal 5, right? The square root of x has to equal 5. For the square root of x to equal 5, I need to do 5 squared to get that, so x equals 25. All right? The next set here, it asks which equations have no solution. Now, that comes from the fact that when you write a number this way, it means the positive square root of x. So if I say the positive square root of x equals negative 100, even though I can do negative 100 times itself, that number's not going to equal the positive square root of x. Because if I do negative 100 times itself, I get 10,000, and the positive square root of 10,000 is actually 100. So there will be no solution when you try to get a positive square root to be a negative number. All right? Now, since this first one says the negative square root of x equals negative 4, this one does have a solution. The solution is x equals 16. Because of this negative out front, if I put a 16 there, this simplifies to 4, because the square root of 16 is 4. And so negative 4 equals negative 4. That works. So that has a solution. I'm going to skip down here and pick one that doesn't have a solution. Right here, this square root of x would have to equal negative 3, because negative 3 minus 2 equals negative 5, and there's no way for a positive square root to equal a negative number. So this one will have no solution. All right? So go ahead and finish those up, and go ahead and take your retake when you think you're ready.